A question we've been asking a lot on this show is, what is your most unpopular college football take that you strongly believe in? We've posted that on my Twitter page. We've gotten a lot of great responses. This one coming from our guy, Bush. He says USC is going to come back and shock some folks. Bush is, of course, speaking to USC's first year in the Big Ten. A lot of buzz around USC's new defensive staff, a new quarterback. What are they going to be in this new era of college football? Bush thinks they're going to be pretty good. What do y'all think? We'll talk about it right now. First things first, though, make sure you're subscribed right here. USC fans, y'all have been getting after it here on this channel. We've had a lot of y'all join us in the last 6 months or so. So, one, we're very grateful for that. Two, if you're new to the show, welcome. It's college football. It's nothing but college football. It's college football the way that you want it. We're not in the hot take business. We're not in the clickbait business. Like, we just love and appreciate college football the same way you do. And so that's how we talk about it. So thanks for being locked in. Thanks for subscribing. Also, follow me on Instagram and on Twitter at JD Piquel. That's actually where we're pulling answers to this question from. So lock in there. We'll have a good time, and this college football community will keep on rolling. So going back to our unpopular take from our friend Bush here, he says USC is going to shock some folks. What would shocking look like? I think we got to set the baseline. The baseline in Las Vegas is USC's over-under win total preseason being at 7.5 wins. To me, that is Vegas saying, defense, we're not sure about you. Danton Lynn, glad to have you here, but we need to see it to believe it. You lost Caleb Williams, Miller Moss. We like you. We like you a lot, but how much are you going to elevate this team if the defense is still not where it needs to be? That's Vegas saying that. That's not me saying that. Look at what they have on this schedule, man. I don't think their draw is horrible. It's not easy. Don't get it twisted. It's not easy, but I don't think it's horrible. No Ohio State, no Oregon, no Iowa. What would a shock look like for USC? Like, what would shocking be? I think 9-3 would be a surprise in some ways, given the 7.5 over-under win total. I think shocking, though, if we're going to use that kind of label, I think shocking is like, hey, 10-2. 10-2, baby. And I'll say this, too. If USC, I'm speaking softly here so we don't get anybody too fired up around us now, if they go 10-2, that same USC team, everyone left for dead last year in November, they're probably going to be in the college football playoff. 10-2 Big Ten team will do that. But if they go 10-2, it means they went 2-2 in this stretch, in my opinion, or at least two of these games, maybe more. LSU, at Michigan, Penn State, Notre Dame. Those are the four most difficult games on the schedule for my money. I would have to imagine that's the same way that the folks in Los Angeles feel and the way that Lincoln Riley feels. I think there's a pretty good amount of confidence on the offensive side of the football, yet again, for USC. Now, I also feel that same way based on how USC has operated this offseason. And the reason why I believe the offensive side of the football is confident, a couple of reasons. One, Lincoln Riley's still running the show. Say what you want about the defense. We'll talk about that here in just a little bit. But this dude is still, in my opinion, the best, if not one of the best, offensive minds in the sport. Period, mic drop, the end. His resume speaks for itself, and they got a quarterback in Miller Moss who they chose to roll with as their guy. Now, I say chose in a very, overarching sense because he hasn't been named the starter yet. They also went out and got Jaden Mayava from the portal. But they didn't go get Will Howard. And Will Howard, there was a point in time now, if you remember, during bowl season where there was a lot of smoke around, hey, he could be the guy for USC. And if you bring in Will Howard, you were bringing him there to start. Like, make no mistake about it. He was going to be your guy. Miller Moss gets rolling during that Holiday Bowl, puts up numbers like Goodwill Hunting. I get on Twitter. I try to get Heis Miller trending. It doesn't work. But you hear what I'm saying. Like, if they didn't feel good about Miller Moss, they would have gone out and gotten Will Howard. Now, full transparency, I personally had a Will Howard to USC video ready on this channel. That was how confident I was that he was going to end up being the guy for USC next year. Lincoln Riley, after seeing the Holiday Bowl and have to imagine after some things he saw behind closed doors, says, nope, you know what? I know what good quarterbacks look like. Miller Moss is a good freaking quarterback. Let's roll with this guy. Again, I'm assuming he's going to be the guy based on the fact that they didn't go out and get somebody that was a plug-and-play rental in that sense. So here's some assumptions I have for USC heading into this upcoming season. I am assuming that the offense is still going to be really good. 42 points a game is a very high bar to set from one year to the next. I'm assuming USC has a great offense, 42 points a game. I'm assuming they take like a half step back from that. Caleb Williams is no longer there, so that's, I think, a fair assumption. I'm also assuming the defense will not be worse. Now, that's not a major, not a major hot take in the sense that USC last year allowed 34 points a game. But I will say this. As low as that bar is to improve, the staff they brought in out there in LA is phenomenal. We had Lincoln Riley on this very show, so go check the interview out actually on this channel. Another reason to be subscribed. But we asked him, what was the thought process in putting together this staff? He's like, we swung big. We swung big. We emphasized pedigree and development. And hearing that during the interview, I was like, heck yeah, coach. Heck yeah. And here's the deal. You should swing big when you got a big bat. You see this logo right here on this helmet? That is one of the most recognizable, one of the most major brands in the sport, regardless of what the last couple of seasons have looked like on the defensive side of the football. Like this still got some juice to it. So I love that approach by Lincoln Riley. And also with landing Danton Lynn and Eric Henderson, among others, they succeeded in landing a high pedigree of guys. Eric Henderson has coached Aaron Donald, arguably one of the best defensive linemen in NFL history. Danton Lynn did great things at UCLA last year. Also has an NFL background. So the bottom line here is this new staff for USC defensively, as low as that bar was and as much as like saying there could be improvement isn't a stretch, I think it doesn't show up on the headlines or in the box score. But the change of voice in a position meeting room or in a unit meeting room that provides more confidence and provides more excitement in some ways. Honestly, I'll just say this too, that provides a different way of teaching. Everyone learns differently. And so changing the curriculum for this USC defense and changing the verbiage in some ways with how they're going to process and learn that could make all the difference. That could make all the difference because last year, I think USC got kind of a bad rap for the personnel they have on the defensive side of the football actually out there on the field. And I'm not telling you that they were, just first-round draft picks littering across that starting 11. But I do think that we never actually got to see the full potential of some of those guys' abilities because there were so many times where it felt like schematically they were out of position. Like I'm watching USC and Arizona State, which was a great game, but like Arizona State shouldn't be running inside zone on USC. Inside zone is a basic football play that everyone and their mama runs. If you can't fit that correctly, to me that's not about personnel. To me that's about scheme, teaching, all those things. Philosophy in some ways during the week potentially. I don't know. So what I'm trying to say here is the personnel, I think, could be better than what we saw with 34 points a game allowed last season by USC. I don't think that's a stretch. So the defense should be just a little bit better. Now, what would be the path to 10-2? Again, I think that's the record. That would be shocking based on what my man's saying here. How do you get there? I think it goes to the question, what's the trade-off between how much the USC offense could take a step back and how much the USC defense takes a step forward? Goes without saying. I think there's two paths, though, to get them to that 10-2 mark. The first is Miller Moss watches this video, the USC offense watches this video, and they say, nice take. We'll take a step back, try again. We're actually going to take a step forward, or stay right at where we were last year, scoring 42 points a game, one of the best offenses in college football. Caleb Williams, he was great, but we're just going to keep on rolling here. Please and thank you. In that sense, USC, the defense you would like to see probably take steps forward regardless, but if USC can just say, ready, set, go, we're winning a track meet every single week with you, hope you can catch us, we're scoring 40, hope you are. There is a path there where USC ends up getting to that kind of win mark by that kind of formula. Now, how sustainable is that year in and year out? Remains to be seen, but this upcoming season, USC plays two teams. I'm factoring in Nebraska here as a team that will have a new starting quarterback. I'm assuming it's Dylan Raiola, the true freshman. USC plays two teams with a solidified returning starting quarterback. It's UCLA with Garbers, and it's Penn State with Drew Aller. How much does that help USC? I don't know. Tell you what, though, it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt that when it comes to the quarterback duel, you have more than likely, more often than not, a new cat on the other side of the field. You're saying, wait, JD, isn't USC playing a new starting quarterback? Yes, they are, but guess what? He got Lincoln Riley calling the plays for him. So I think that probably deserves a little bit of a different approach to how we view a new starting quarterback for USC. So that's one path. You're boat racing teams offensively. You're putting up numbers like you're a mathematician. Like that would be one way to go forward if you're USC. That's one path to 10-2. The second path is probably one that USC fans would like to see because it would provide a little bit more balance. USC, let's say they're not scoring 42. Let's just say they're scoring 36 a game. Still really good. Still one of the better offenses in college football. Still right in line with what you expect from a Lincoln Riley coach team. On the other side of the ball, though, let's say they take major strides. Let's say USC improves a full, give or take a touchdown. So they're right around 35, 36, or excuse me, they're right around 25, 26 points allowed per game this upcoming season. If that's the case, I think that is a more reliable model week in and week out. I think that's going to be good enough to beat a lot of these teams in the Big Ten. I think it's going to be good enough to keep you within striking distance against a lot of those opponents that are going to be, your big boys on the schedule, the LSUs, the Michigans, the Penn States, Notre Dames. We'll see. That's one model that I think could be a way for success for USC and a way to shock some people for USC in 2024. Now, at the end of the year for USC, the dust settles, regardless of record. A couple of thoughts I have. If USC goes out and has success on the defensive side of the football, just makes progress on the defensive side of the football, substantial progress, not like, oh, finally we switched up staffs. No, like if you have substantial success on the defensive side of the football, give Lincoln Riley a little bit of credit here. Give him a little bit of credit, because I think a lot of folks are going to be very quick to say Lincoln Riley was forced to make a change by the administration, or Lincoln Riley had this change made for him. I don't know what's true or not true around that. That to me sounds like maybe just a little bit of a reach. But again, I'm not here to tell you what is or isn't true around that. But he still hired this staff. Like Lincoln Riley still put this side of the football together. Still went out and got Dan Lynn, went out and got Eric Henderson to sign up. Both guys that had good jobs previously. I don't think that should go unnoticed. And to me, it's like, was it, a couple of years too late? Would you have liked to maximize Caleb Williams? Of course. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how we got here if we're playing good football on the defensive side of the ball for USC. It's just important that we're here, and Lincoln Riley deserves some flowers if that's the case. To the exact same token, I think this upcoming season will tell us a lot about what the problems were at USC. Because a lot of people have said something and kind of had a phrase out there that to me has always had a little bit of confusion to it, which is Lincoln Riley defenses. Lincoln Riley defenses fill in the blank. Lincoln Riley defenses don't show up. Lincoln Riley defenses don't perform. And I hear what you're saying, because Lincoln Riley, I just mentioned, he's the CEO. He is responsible in a lot of ways for the defensive side of the football. When you're the CEO, you're responsible for accounting, even if that's not your bag. You're still, in a lot of ways in charge of that whole realm. But again, Lincoln Riley, the reason why I've given him so much benefit of the doubt leading into this season is like Lincoln Riley's an offensive guy. He has delegated for the defensive side of the football. Now, is it still his responsibility? Of course, but I don't think it's a situation where Lincoln Riley's sitting in there during the week and saying, okay, I want us to run this coverage, that coverage, I want us to play the corners this way. I don't think he's really in the weeds to that degree when it comes to strategy defensively. Now, he's involved, I'm sure, when it comes to overarching game plan, but is he coaching up the defensive side of the football? No. Now, the pushback is, well, what's the philosophy? Has to be improved. And he's mentioned that. That's something they're going to, it sounds like, address throughout fall camp, and what they tried to address during spring football is just how they approach the defensive side of the ball. But with what he did hiring that staff, there should be credit if they make some strides. And if they don't make strides, I think you look at USC and you say, okay, well then Coach Riley, he is the common denominator. What now? And that's a whole other segment for another time, but I'm just saying, USC shocking folks. There's a couple of paths. Schedule is tough, but I don't think it's overwhelmingly impossible tough like some other schools have across college football. Keep an eye on USC. Keep an eye on USC. Keep an eye on that offense with Miller Moss. Keep an eye on that new defense. I wouldn't be so quick to count them out. If you had to ask me today, I'd feel confident leaning towards the over on that 7.5 for the Trojans. But let me know what you think. Again, we got this on my Twitter page, have had for some time. What is your most unpopular college football take that you strongly believe in? Post your answer underneath that tweet, and then get at me on here, and we'll make sure that we try and answer those in an orderly fashion and get you our thoughts on your unpopular takes. We appreciate y'all so much. Make sure you're locked in. We love y'all. We're going to keep this party rolling. We will see y'all next time. Hey y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.